Hello viewers, welcome to Study Guruji. Today we at Study Guruji have started a new series of lectures on Indian economy. So in this series of lecture basically we are going to cover the standard book, that is Ramesh Singh, which is the 12th edition, which is the latest edition of 2020 to 2021. So during this our series of lectures on Indian economy, we will finish this entire book page by page with our regular videos. Viewers, the best way these videos can help is, first you can play this video and simultaneously you can open this book. Preferably the hard copy of this book should be in front of you, and after watching each videos you have to go through these chapters in this book. In this way you will understand the concept in a better way, and this will help you to remember this concept for a longer period of time. If you have any doubts on any of the points, you can always ask us through the comment section. So let's begin with our first chapter of Ramesh Singh, that is Introduction to Economics. So economics, if you have to understand what is economy, it can be put in words like it is study of how goods and services are produced, distributed and consumed. So in simple terms, economics is how these goods and services are produced, how it is distributed to all the people, and how these people consume these goods and services. So that is basically economics. Now, one famous economist, that is Lionel Robbins, in 1935 has described economics as the science of scarcity. Why he has called economics as the science of scarcity is because the want of the human beings, the demands of the human beings is always unlimited, but the resources, they are very much limited. So it is not possible to meet all the demands of the people at any given point of time. So it is basically the science how we can utilize this scarce resource, the limited resource, in the with the unlimited demand of these resources. Now, if we have to define economics, it can be defined as economics studies the economic activities of the human beings. This can be called as a working definition. So economics is the studies of economic activities. Now, what is economic activities? Economic activities are any activities where money is involved. So any activity where money is involved, we can call it as an economical activity. So some economists, they have defined this economics in various definitions. So one such definition is economics is study of how societies use scarce resources to produce valuable commodities and distribute them among different people. So as I already told, the resources are always scarce, it is always limited. So from these scarce resources we have to produce something valuable and then distribute them among different people. So that is one definition of economics. Second way of defining economics is it is study of how individuals, firms, governments and other organizations in society make choices and how these choices determine a society's use of its resources. So it says that how various organizations, individuals, firms, governments, etc., how they make choices and how these choices determine a society's use of this resource is economics. So that was the definition of economics. Now economics has two branches. Basically, after 1935, after the Great Depression of economics, the economic were divided into two segments, that is microeconomics and macroeconomics. So we will see what is the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics. But you have to know the concept of macroeconomics was given by a famous economist, John Maynard Keynes. So John Maynard Keynes is called as the father of macroeconomics. So John Maynard Keynes, in his work, which was titled The General Theory of Employment, Interest and Money, published in 1936, described macroeconomics. What is macroeconomics? So now let's see what is microeconomics and what is macroeconomics. In simple terms, microeconomics is economic involved at an individual level. or at a smaller level, whereas macro at a larger level as a collective society. What are the economic activities that is called as macroeconomics? So microeconomics, it is said that it takes bottoms up approach, that is from an individual level to a larger level, to a society level. So from bottom you are moving up, that is microeconomics. Whereas macroeconomics, it takes top down approach, that is from a society level, from a larger population to a single individual. So from top you are coming down, that is why it is called top down approach. So microeconomics, it tries to understand the choices which consumer makes and the income they earn. So important to know the choices which consumers make at an individual level and what are the income they earn. Whereas macroeconomics, it tries to understand the dynamics of inflation and growth. So inflation and growth, it is looking at the economics at a collective level. So that is part of macroeconomics. However, these both are interrelated. That is, microeconomics determines the macroeconomics. For example, if an individual changes his preference for certain goods, then you will find that the demand for that good increases. So in a bigger picture, just like this individual, there are several individuals and who changes their preferences simultaneously. So at full society, the demand for that product, for that good is changed. The economics of that good is changed. So at macro level, the inflation of that product will be seen. The growth in that society will be different compared to the prior approach. So micro and macroeconomics, they are interrelated. That is, they both affect each other. Change in micro will cause change in macro as well. Now there is another term, that is econometrics. So econometrics is the third core. Apart from micro and macro, there is econometrics, which is the third core area of economics, which seeks to apply statistical and mathematical methods. So when you apply statistics and mathematical methods to an economy, it becomes econometrics. Now, next topic is sectors and types of economics. So basically there are three main sectors in economy, which we call as primary sector, secondary sector and tertiary sector. But apart from these three main sectors, there are two additional sectors which are quaternary, called as quaternary sector and quinary sector. Now quaternary and quinary, they are basically the part of tertiary sector itself. So the main sectors are only three, that is primary, secondary and tertiary. And tertiary has two important parts, that is quaternary sector and quinary sectors. So what are these sectors? We'll see in the next segment of this video. So let's see what are these sectors. So primary sector deals with economical activities which are exploiting the natural resources. So those activities which seeks to exploit the natural resources, they fall under primary sectors. So what are these activities? Mining, agricultural activities, oil exploration. So in all these areas we see that the natural resources directly is being exploited by human beings. So they are called as primary sectors. Now another term associated in primary sector is agrarian economy. When do we call a economy to be an agrarian economy? So the definition is, if agriculture contributes to minimum 50% of national income as well as 50% of total employment in a country or in an economy, then we can call that economy to be an agrarian economy. So India, it was initially in agrarian economy because it used to contribute more than 50% in the national income, as well as more than 50% they were involved in the agricultural activities. So that is the definition of agrarian economy. Then next is secondary sector. So secondary sector is one step after the primary sector. So in primary sector we saw that we were exploiting the natural resources. In secondary sector we will process these natural resources into some other goods. So basically the manufacturing industries, they are part of secondary sector. So here the raw materials extracted out of the primary sectors, they are processed. For example, cotton. When you collect cotton, you cultivate cotton, it is a part of your primary sector, cultivation of cotton, because you are naturally exploiting your resources. Then the raw material generated from this primary sector, that is the cotton, it will be used in industry to produce cloth. So production of cloth is part of your secondary sector. So secondary sector, they are also called as industrial sector, because through industry mainly you will process these raw materials of primary sector. So another, just like agrarian economy, there are industrial economy. So when we call an economy to be an industrial economy, when 50% of national income is contributed by industries, as well as more than 50% of individual employment is generated by this industrial sector, then we can call economy to be an industrial economy. And finally, tertiary sectors. So what happens in tertiary sectors? Here the services are produced, not the goods, but the services are produced. For example, what are the example of services? Education, healthcare, banking, communication, etc. So all these are tertiary sectors of economy. So tertiary sector, they can also be called as service economy if 50% of national income is generated by service sector and 50% of employment is also generated by service sector. Then after tertiary sector, we have quaternary sector, which is also called as knowledge sector. So here activities related to education, research and development, all these are part of your quaternary sector. And then finally we have Quinary sector. In Quinary sector, the top decisions are made. So who are the person who make top decisions in an economy? It is the government, the bureaucrats, or the top industrialists, the private corporate sectors. All they are decision makers in an economy, top decision makers. So they can be called as Quinary sector. So what are the stages of growth? How does a country advance in terms of economical development? So this has been described by W. Rostow in 1960. So Rostow, what he said is there are 5 linear stages, which you have seen in the above slides. So any country that goes through these 5 linear stages of economical growth. So these 5 stages, they involve the 3 main sectors, that is agriculture, industry and service sector. So first, when a country is making development, they will mainly focus on agriculture sector, then their income will increase, then they will focus on industry, there will be industrial growth in a country, and then they will focus on the tertiary sectors. This is the general term. However, there are certain exceptions. Certain countries, they have directly from agriculture jumped into service sector without fully developing their industrial capacity. Our country India is one such example. We used to be an agricultural sector in the early years of 1950 and onwards, and then from agriculture directly we shifted towards service sectors. Many banking and other service sectors have arose without fully development of industrial sector. So India is a fine example of this exception to the Mr. Rostow's stages of growth concept. So viewers, this was the first part of the chapter where we talked about economics, its definition, its description, then what are the different sectors in economies, what is microeconomics, what is macroeconomics, and so on. In the next sector, we will see the other part of this chapter. So if you like this lecture, kindly share this video, like the video, and do not forget to subscribe the channel and click on the bell icon to get a regular notification. See you in the next video. Goodbye. Have a great day. Thank you.